So Warner Brothers Discovery exploring overhaul of DC Entertainment. The new owners of all things Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are exploring an overhaul of DC Entertainment. Multiple sources close to the situation told Variety. So DC Entertainment is uh, the brand of Warner Brothers that handles all of DC, like not just DC Films. So DC Films is the sub brand of DC Entertainment. So DC Entertainment has comics, TV shows, movies, anything, right? So everything comes under DC Entertainment, not just DC Films. So this is not just about DCEU or DC Films or series, whatever. This is all of DC, right? So that's good. It's been less than a week since Discovery closed its deal, blah, 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 joining one of the largest producers of reality programming, blah, 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 blah. The move would potentially affect DC feature film development in the Warner Brothers Picture Group. I don't know if that title will remain, but we'll see. Streaming series at Warner Bros. Television and the creative arm within DC proper, all in an effort to have the disparate elements more closely aligned in order to maximize the value of superhero stable, one often seen as punching up against Marvel, even a decade later. So the I've been saying this for a while, and Mar, even you said this when Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. The the best way, I would say, not the only way, but the best way to have a consistent success at box office is to have a more connected universe, right? I know a lot of people hate to admit that. I know that, not everything has to be universe, and we're not saying that. There definitely can be Batman, Joker, movies like that outside of the universe. But in order to um get the audience to leave their houses and go to the theater again and again for all DC films, you need to build the DC movie brand. You cannot just put out Batman, Aquaman, who make close to billion, and then put a Plastic Man movie and it just makes 200 million, or Shazam that makes 300 million, or Birds of Prey makes 300 million. Doesn't That's not good for the brand. You see what I'm saying? Don't I'm not saying those movies suck. Those movies are good, and they should make money, but they should make as much or as close to the other characters are, how much the other characters are making. The Batman movie made $800 million, right? And $750 million, and the Aquaman movie made $1 billion. You see what the problem is? Do you see the problem? But the thing is,
Well,
when you have a shared
the
cinematic universe, you have consistent success because, like Maher even used to say, you people keep going back to the theaters because they are interested in what this universe is doing, right? So that's one key thing that DC never had, and I mean never had after they changed stuff after 2016. Before that, there was a plan. They had all of that stuff, but now they don't. So it's definitely an issue, and I'm glad that they acknowledged it. What were you gonna say, Mar?
no, I'm just saying the landscape, the environment has changed over the last few years because of COVID and because of streaming. So in theaters now, that's why you have the big franchise. You have the Jurassic Worlds, you have the Marvel, you have the DC. You have Transformers coming out next year. Indiana Jones 5 is coming out. The landscape has changed where the environment is only accessible to movies that are franchises and sequels in a way. And you have your gems every once in a while of a movie, original movie like Free Guy doing really, really well. But that period of time for each movie is not going to it's going to dwindle a bit because people like staying at home, people like streaming, people like watching their movies at home, and that's why Batman is out tomorrow on HBO Max. So yes, you're right. Yes, I think people will go out to see a Marvel movie because it's in theaters, because it's connected so well together, and they have to see the next chapter. And some early estimates come out for Doctor Strange, a 190 million domestic opening weekend it's set for in a few weeks. That's crazy, but it just shows you how people are invested in that universe and how much they want to see the next chapter in the MCU and who they want to see pop up or what's going to happen. And WandaVision was a big kind of hit for them as well. and you want to see Wanda's next journey. And Doctor Strange was in No Way Home. That was pretty cool. What's going to happen with him next? What If also seems to be, if you're a fan of that, oh cool. I loved What If. I can't wait to go see what's going to happen in the movie. So yeah, I think, and Jurassic World's bringing back the original three as well. Sam Neill, um, I forget the other actors' names, but they're all coming back, and that's a big thing as well. It only benefited. So I just think if you're going to have these theatrical movies, the DCEU, you want to have them a little bit more connected, and you don't want Jared Leto's shoulder or Henry
Yeah.
Cavill's body and no head. You need to actually have an established connectivity between the movies, and I think that helps.
Yes, and we're not saying that that's the only way to do it, and I'm definitely not saying that you have to copy Marvel or anything. I'm just saying if you need consistent success, which is the thing that Warner Brothers are chasing. Like they want every movie to do well, right? That's what they have been wanting since 2016. They want every movie to do well. They want those multiple billion dollar, movies. Look at Ant-Man, right? You have the first Ant-Man movie was pretty good. Then you have the second Ant-Man movie. Nobody cared. The third Ant-Man movie is coming out. So Ant-Man already has a trilogy, right? And Ben Affleck's Batman didn't get one single movie. And you have the new Batman movie, which didn't cross $1 billion. I'm not saying it has to, but
I think the Batman one will. I think Batman two will benefit
yes,
from Batman one making 750 million.
yes.
You know what I
Without
mean?
getting into why that movie didn't cross a billion, whatever, I'm just saying that data wise, the top tier character of DC didn't cross a billion, and over there Thor Ragnarok, on his third movie made a 1.2 or 1.3 billion dollars or whatever. So just based on the IP that Warner Brothers owns, I can understand the executives looking at what they have and saying, why are our characters not making us money, right? So that's an issue. Forget Superman and Batman. What about the secondary characters? Do you think if they release a cyborg movie, they'll cross $1 billion, which they want? No, I don't think so. So you need to have that consistency, right? So let's go through this again. Before,
But just to say as well,
yeah,
to talk about, um, I hope Peacemaker was the first step. I hope this is the new start, because James Gunn was able to get the Justice League appearing. Ezra Miller and Jason Momoa popped up. Now, I would be critical of that scene if they didn't. If it was just the silhouettes of the characters and no actors, then I would have been very harsh in that scene. But the way he was able to get two of the actors actually popping up, I hope this is the start of it now in terms of what they're going to do going forward. But you just don't know with this company at all. But the Flash movie is going to be cameo galore. We hear of cameos. Michael Keaton was supposed to be in the post-credit scene of Aquaman 2. They had to cut it because of all the delays. Shazam, rumors that Wonder Woman's appearing in Shazam. Black Adam is going through reshoots pretty soon, or maybe already in reshoots. So maybe they can add a. I'm not saying you need cameos. I'm just saying if you're going to reference people and have a connective universe, and you want people to be invested in it, and you want people to keep coming back and gather discussion, like to talk about things, then you need to have those characters appearing, those kind of cool Easter eggs, because that seems to look at Venom 2 and Tom Holland being in the post-credit scene, like, and the buzz around that, so, and even like back in 2016 with the Suicide Squad movie, if you go to see that and you talk about it with your friend, man, you won't believe what popped up in Suicide Squad movie. Like
yeah,
Batman had a scene with Will Smith's Deadshot. The Flash popped up, pretty cool, So, and then the Crisis on Infinite Earths when Ezra Miller showed up, that was a big thing. I
yeah,
bet you more people probably watched that because of him being in it than they would have engaged with it online otherwise. You know
absolutely.
what I mean? So it's
So yes, all this definitely helps. It's not the only way. It's not, it's not needed, but it sure helps. So, yeah. Before the merger closed, Zaslav vetted candidates with experience in creating and nurturing blockbuster intellectual property with the goal of potentially finding someone to serve as a creative and strategic czar similar to what Marvel has in Kevin Feige. So, this is one of the things also a lot of people, scoff at when they hear DC doesn't need a Kevin Feige and all that. And sure, it doesn't need a Kevin Feige, but it will definitely benefit with him, you know? So they need a person who understands business, who is a producer, who understands how filmmaking works, understands how, what characters can, you know, what characters they can benefit from, and how to build around that, how to build movies around that, and how to market them. So the producer needs to understand that first. And then you also need to have a person, maybe the same person or someone on the team, who can um, guide you through the characters you have and the universe, you know, the storyline that you're building and the universe you're setting up. And then you also have to have another person on the team who keeps the tabs on what the connectivity is there and all that stuff. So you need to have all this. Marvel has this team. It's not just Kevin Feige. They have a team who does this. They have the same team working on all the movies behind the scenes. It's not just one person. So you need to have that team. To give you an
Yeah.
example, DC had that with Zack Snyder, Jim Lee. You can count in Jeff Johns, but they were a team and they created the entire DCEU plan for 5 years, right? So because of that, they had such a big slate of movies and they had this whole
And like
plan.
Jeff Johns probably would have been a good asset there
Yes.
if he was just kept in a box and not given so much power. You know what I mean? Like he probably would have been a good like with Zach there if he worked because I think he worked well with the with like you know in terms of like because he is one of the greatest comic book artists of all time and stuff like that. I think he could have been a good asset there. Only he wasn't such a dickhead. You know, he wasn't such a he was trying to be this Kevin Feige, which is kind of impossible. You know, but he could have if he stayed close to Zach and kind of worked together with them, they could have made something pretty special, you know. But unbelievable how he got so much power in such a short span of time, coming off of Green Lantern.
Yes, that is definitely there. But at least they had a plan over there. And, you know, it's not Zach's job to create the plan because he's just a director and filmmaker and he has to just create his films. But he did. You know, he and Jim Lee created this entire plan. They had spin off movies, solo films, and all of that from that. So if you need consistent success and want people to be interested in every single outing that you have, not just a couple of movies, then you need to have a plan for 5 years or 10 years. Maybe just an outline. You don't have to follow, you know, what the MCU is doing. The DCEU structure right now is kind of fine. So they don't need to completely change their format. They just need to have a plan, right? So, and you need to have that person who goes to other movies, you know, like the Kevin Feige figure, who goes to other movies and make sure that they are all um, making their own movies, but also having some sort of connection with the larger universe and larger storytelling, right? You don't have to follow it chapter by chapter. Like, you don't have to make Wonder Woman 3 directly after, you know, Man of Steel 2 or something. You don't have to do that. But you can, you know, make sure that they are happening in the same universe without contradicting each other. So,
But if
yeah,
yeah, we're not talking about the Joker or Batman. We're talking about a connective
yes,
universe, which the DCU is, and that's what we're comparing with Marvel here.
yes,
Like Joker and Batman, they can make a Black Label Bane a movie all they want
yeah.
or whatever. We're talking about if you want to make a connective universe successful, which is what they're chasing and why they're wondering why aren't we getting the box office income as like Marvel are getting. But also, Kevin Feige engages with his fan base.
That's also,
He
yeah.
he goes to Disney Plus Investors Day. He's there. He's presenting Marvel. He goes to the press tours. He goes to the premieres. He goes to the interviews, and he's the face, and he's the one guiding you through it as well. And that's why he's so well known with fans because not only has he been a producer on X-Men, Spider-Man, MCU movies, but he's also like he's a big nerd. He's a comic book fan, but he is like labeled as he's the main guy at Marvel. But he's like he talks to the fans, so
Yeah.
you can put a face on it. And he like Walter Matt has been in the position since what 2019, 2018 as the DC president. I've barely seen the guy. I seen him once in an article there last year where he's sitting with his hands folded, like talking about how the Snyder Cut's a
forget
cul-de-sac.
forget the
He's
general
tearing down those
audience.
movies.
Even a lot of DC movies won't recognize him. DC
He's tearing
fans.
down his he teared down his Zack Snyder Justice League movie. That's one of his movies, and he teared it down. And like instead of like Kevin Feige wouldn't do that
He
at
didn't do
all.
that with Eternals.
No, he didn't. He said like
Yeah,
this should be an Oscar
yeah,
nominated movie. This is a pretty good movie. So like it's weird. Yeah, bad management by a lot of these Warner Bros. Executives. And Walter Amada for me like has done absolutely nothing in the role
yes,
at all. And his next like 4 or 5 movies are probably going to be respectfully don't like well received and move and money and stuff like that. But like you had you had like the last few years to greenlit the right projects, and you went with Shazam, you went with Birds of Prey, you went with Wonder Woman 84, you went with the Suicide Squad. It's just weird kind of happenings in movies. Like Kevin Feige, he can get like what Marvel did so well too was they put Stan Lee to the front and said, "This is the creator of all our content. This is the man right here." And that helps as well, I think,
yep.
because then when Stan Lee
That
made the
was gonna
cameo,
be
I was like,
Jim
"Oh, that's the
Lee.
guy." That could have been Jim Lee,
Yeah.
But I just think it's you have no matter what if it's a product, if it's a location, if it's a person, and you're trying to sell it to people, you need to have the right environment. You need to have the right kind of presentation skills for it to work. And
Yes.
DC has kind of butchered it big time in the last few
One of
years, or
the
maybe last decade.
Yes, I agree. One of the things that I've brought up as, what DC lacked was communication as well. Like they never communicate with the fans. They never do. And that's one of the biggest problems. Like forget having a face, although that is also key, like you just said, but they never even communicate with the fans. Like every time you hear something about it, it's just in an article, two lines from random interviewer going through a source and all that. Where is direct contact between the studio and fans? Nobody does that. So that's also another problem. But yeah, let's continue. One of those candidates, including Emma Watts, a former top film executive at 20th Century Studios and Paramount, but it does not appear that Watts will take the job. Of course not. Who would want to? One insider suggested that Zaslav was less interested in finding a creative guru and more eager to hire someone who had the type of business background needed to keep all the different factions at DC working more harmoniously. This is a very excellent point because again, you first and foremost you need the person who knows that which films will do well and which will not. You cannot randomly throw random names in the box and just ask them to go make those movies just because they're not expensive. You need to make Superman movies, Batman movies, Deathstroke, whatever, the big characters that are more popular, that will get you the right money and all that. But yeah, insiders say that Zaslav believes that the success of the merger, one that has left the company highly leveraged, will rest in no small part on unlocking the full potential of the DC Comics universe of characters. Discovery insiders believe that although DC has achieved cinematic success with recent films such as Aquaman and The Batman, it lacks a coherent creative and brand strategy. Again, this is the exact thing I was saying. Like you need to be consistent. You cannot have Aquaman and Batman making close to billion and then have Shazam and Birds of Prey not even crossing 500 million. That's not how it works. And also by the way, the Batman is not even in the DCU. Discovery believes that several top shelf characters such as Superman have been left to languish and need to be revitalized. 100% yes. They also believe that projects like Todd Phillips' Joker are a shining example of how second build characters from the DC library can and should be exploited. In brackets, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is another example. Right. So, yes, and they did something with Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn in Birds of Prey, but they did not call it Harley Quinn. They called it Birds of Prey and whatever of Harley Quinn. So a lot of people didn't know that, Harley Quinn is the main character of that movie, which she is. It's a Harley movie featuring Birds of Prey, which it should have been named and promoted as. And they failed massively in that. So that's another issue there, right? But to bring back to the Superman point, how many times, Mar, you and I have said this over the years that They need to bring Superman. Like without Superman, you cannot just keep making these movies. He's the top character. You need to have movies from him first. Then you can go and make your side movies and side characters, secondary characters and all that. And people will like that. When people are ultimately frustrated with your main character, how can you expect them to enjoy these other projects that you're presenting to them without saying that, oh, we'll have plans for Superman? The only thing that you keep saying is we have no plans for Superman movies. So
Well, one of the greatest Superman scenes of all time was at the end of the Batman movie. That's all I'd say.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, I agree. But yeah, look, you need to have Superman movie. You need to have a Man of Steel 2 or the Superman, whatever you want to call it. You need to have that movie which Henry Cavill also wants, and you need to have it with Henry Cavill because he is the DCEU Superman. You need to bring him back. You need to go make that movie that he wants, which is right after Man of Steel, and between that and BVS or that's the perfect place. Like between that and BVS, you have 18 months. So BVS events doesn't don't happen until 18 months because there's a gap in that. You have the card on the screen because Batman needs prep time and all that. So he takes 18 months to prepare for that. So you have all that time, right? And we never saw that Superman after Man of Steel that is just living his daily life, is hanging out with Lois Lane, being a reporter, saving random people here and there in inside Metropolis or around the world, whatever. We never
I
saw
don't
that.
think like I don't think it has to be in the same aesthetic as Zack Snyder in terms of like
Yeah,
how he portrayed. Like it, I think there is a general audience oriented Superman movie that you could make that could make a lot of money, but doesn't have to be necessarily tied to what Zack Snyder was doing. And I'm not saying trying to go against what Zack Snyder did. I'm just saying in terms of it doesn't have to be exactly a Man of Steel or a Batman v Superman movie. It can be different.
yes.
And like I'm not saying it has to be a reboot or anything like that. I'm just saying is it's supposed to be a Superman movie. He's learned from Man of Steel, and now this is him becoming Superman. And like there's that 18 months, as you said, and then we kind of have the Batman v Superman phase of that. So like there's ways you can do it. It doesn't have to be as deep as Zack. I don't know if they would go as deep as like Zack Snyder's movies and the symbolism and stuff like that. They'd probably just like to make a good popcorn Superman movie to make $1 billion or something like
Which is
that,
fine.
which is always, which is yeah, it's fine as well. I don't mind. I want to see Henry Cavill come
Yeah.
back, but like it's kind of like Superman should be one of their big characters. Like he should be a Spider-Man or in terms of Marvel or something like that. But like I love Tyler Hoechlin and Superman. I love Superman and Lois. But should Superman be on the CW shows? Like, should there be a CW Superman show?
He should be
I
the
don't think there
face of
should
the
be.
DCEU in the theaters.
That's what I'm saying. Like, Smallville was different because that was a Clark Kent story. It followed him as a teenager or something like that. He never really suit up at all. But Tyler Hoechlin's in the suit every single week. And he is Superman right now. And his reach isn't as big because he's on the CW. And there is no cinematic Superman right now at all. And there's going to be a female one in a year's time, and still no males Superman at all. So it's weird. And that's probably what David Zaslav was looking at. Like, why is Superman on this?
Bench.
Like, no offense to CW and stuff
Why
like
is
that, but it,
Cristiano Ronaldo on the bench every week?
yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. And then people, yeah. So I don't know. But it looks like Zaslav is a fan of Superman. He's named the character a few times. So, like, he should be. Wonder Woman gets her own movies. Batman gets her own movies. Superman hasn't had a movie since 2016, 2013, So, yeah, it's strange. But, like, the thing is Sazov looking at a reboot of Superman? Is he looking at bringing Henry Cavill back? Is he looking at the
That's not clear,
J.J.
yes.
Abrams, the Michael Jordan? Is it going to be all three of them? Or Michael B. Jordan? Is it going to be all three of... Are we going to get three Supermans, considering we have three Batmans now? I don't mind. That'd be cool. We have a HBO Max Superman, DCU Superman, and a standalone, like, the Batman Superman. Maybe, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. Like, I would go with Henry Cavill because he's known, and he also has kind of a pretty good following online.
People love
The
him.
Witcher.
Yeah.
He's like, he's a good-looking guy, so he has this like following in terms of like he's hot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? building the PCs and a good example of it. So I would go with him, and maybe look, he's what in his near 40s now or whatever. Maybe you could get maybe 2 or 3 more movies out of him, and then you could reboot it. Then maybe I just think it would be a missed opportunity not to use Henry Cavill one last time, because I think there's a lot of money on the table to be made from just him, and taking the risk of trying a brand new Superman, because I think Henry Cavill's Superman would make more. I think he would make a lot more at the box office than a brand new Superman would, because you have to build that trust with the audience
Yep.
again. At least you have some trust with Henry Cavill's Superman because he has a fan base there.
Yeah.
You hire some other person who is not that well known. It's a bit of a risk considering the character hasn't been loved that much, and the box office history of the character isn't that good either. Henry Cavill is the most box office successful Superman we've ever had. So I would go with him for another movie or two, and then maybe you could look at rebooting it.
Absolutely. And also, you brought up the Supergirl movie. So, that movie, you know how that movie will make more money? By adding Henry Cavill Superman in it. There you go. Now, that movie also makes more money. So, there's these two, big projects that you can easily do. Like the next Superman movie, get Henry Cavill back. He wants to make that. He wants to make a movie between his fall to dark side and right where Man of Steel ended. He wants to make a movie between that, so that you can understand and appreciate when he falls for dark side and all that. So that will become even more wild to see. But when you have this gap here, why are you not making another movie? It's so simple. So yeah. DC has started to figure out ways for its big screen films to inspire more streaming content. Recent examples are HBO Max show Peacemaker and which was a spin-off of Suicide Squad, as well as an upcoming planned series on Colin Farrell's The Penguin, which I'm excited to see, and Gotham City's police force, which I think is not happening anymore. But the company believes that DC must do more to grow its approach to comic book fare, including bolstering gaming. Under Walter Hamada, who took over DC Films from John Berg and Jeff Johns in 2018, the unit has achieved more consistency in terms of both critical and commercial reception to the company's movies, which, to be fair, it has, yes. Recently, they have the projects that are currently in development, right? They are more connected from what we hear, and there are cameos and all that. So it is definitely more connected now than it had been in the past 4 years. Before ZS Jail came out. So he is under contract till the end of 2023 and could play an important role in whatever Zaslav has planned. So, yeah, that's it. I think this is a very, very positive and interesting development, which we'll definitely be covering as it goes. I hope, I hope that good comes out of it. I hope Zaslav is smart enough to see that Henry Cavill Superman is still worth. I hope, even for the Snyderverse, I hope in the future they get together with Zack and complete his jail movies or as a show, whatever. I would love to see that, because there's definitely an audience there, especially after Zack Snyder's Justice League. And definitely you have these A-list characters in it, Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa, Ray Fisher, Ezra Miller, and all of these are gonna grow, even more from now. So yeah, we'll see how that
I
goes.
don't. I don't think people are saying like, oh, he's going to reboot everything. I don't think he is.
Yeah,
I think they're actually going to do what they're doing right now. I think you're going to have the DCU. You're going to have your CW shows. You're going to have your Doom Patrols, your Superman Lois, your Stargirl. I think you're going to have all these things. You're going to have your Batman. You're going to have your Joker. You're going to have whatever other DC kind of black label movies that they want to make. I think you're still going to have all these things. It's just the main DCU is going to be more connected. It's
yeah,
going to be more like building up these characters, and then you have the more creative movies like Todd Phillips ones and stuff like that. But like they have cast. I don't think they're going to reboot, because Sasha Calle, Leslie Grace, even the Wonder Twins casting, and Static Shock, Blue Beetle. these are all young characters, and these are all the next generation of actors. So it doesn't make sense by signing them on for these movies and then cutting that short in a year's time, a year and a half time, and rebooting everything. Like they're like Leslie Grace can play a backer for the next 15 to 20 years. So can Sasha Kale. Like so I don't think they're going to cut the universe short. Now, if the next few movies come out and they're actually absolute flops and terrible and
Then
stuff like that,
maybe, yeah.
then maybe, yeah. But I don't think so. So I think the DCU will live on, and then I think I would hope like they have the Snyderverse here as well, and they can do stuff with that. So I think they'll continue doing what they're doing right now. It's going to be
Yes,
more. They're going to be more. The marketing will be better. I think the
they will have a
creatives
plan.
in power will be better. Have a plan. The directors and the writers. I think everything. I think it's basically what they're doing right now. Only they will have the right people in the right positions working together with an overall goal and plan. Whether that be in the DCU connected universe or whether it be the Penguin HBO Max series, or if they make a Joker 2, or like say there's a Bane Black Label movie. But I think just the right people will be involved, and they'll have a plan, and they'll work together, and there'll be no bullshit politics and stuff like that. That's what I hope anyway.
Yes.
And if he does build a DC studio, then that's good as well,
Yeah.
because then
I
they
was
have an
looking for
overall
that in the
plan on its
article because
own.
I couldn't find it. I don't think it's in this one, or we just
Yeah,
missed it. But yes, that's
I
another
think it was
thing.
more like a suggestion, like for people who were saying like that's what
No,
people
no, it
do.
was in one of
Like
the articles.
you should probably do it with Harry Potter as well. The Harry Potter, like Harry Potter studio, like Lucasfilm, Marvel Studios, Disney do that. I think he is copying Disney in a way as well, um, which is not a bad idea, but also having the mature stance in it as well
There
with
it
those like
is.
R-rated movies. So yeah, I think what they're doing right now will be the plan going forward. It's just they will do it better.
Yeah, so we missed this one here, one paragraph. So it's been less than a week since Discovery closed, joining one of the largest producers of reality programming with one of the most vulnerable venerable entertainment brands under the new moniker of Warner Bros. Discovery. Zaslav, the CEO of combined companies, and top leadership have been toying with the idea of turning DC into its own solidified content vertical. So this is where that Marvel Studios things comes into play, because when you have DC Studios or whatever the name is gonna be as a separate thing from Warner Bros. Pictures, you have focused people who are working on this universe only. Who are making a plan, who are working on how to build the franchise, how to build the universe together, and with contacting all the directors, them getting into one room and having a meeting, talking with each other, discussing plans and all that. That only happens if you have a separate division like this. That cannot happen when you have it under one of those pictures, because you have other executives who just see numbers on a sheet and don't do shit about it, right? So that's not how you get consistency. You need to treat it as a separate franchise altogether, have a dedicated team to work on these properties alone, nothing else. So that's how you get it. So that's also another major thing that's different that Zaslav is bringing to the table, and I think that will be definitely beneficial. I'm not saying that they will just spring into the $1 billion franchise movies right from next year onwards. That's not going to happen. You still have to wait 2 or 3 years to see how this is all going to play out. So,
Because like Toby Emmerich is still involved with DC films right now because it comes underneath his banner. And like he's still involved, but like it's going to take a while for them to build that DC Studios, and
yes.
then for them to transition the power that say Toby Emmerich and those executives have right now over DC. They will transition to the new executives coming in. They'll just be solely concentrating on DC. While say if Toby Emmerich does stay around, he'll just be concentrating on like
Movies.
Dune and
Yeah.
new line cinema stuff like that. You know what I mean? So then that his power, his like responsibilities transition into the DC studios, and somebody else takes that role. So even if Toby Emmerich stays on, it doesn't mean it's the end for the Snyderverse or DC's in a bad position, because his responsibilities will go to somebody else unless he gets the DC job.
I don't think he will, because he's basically getting the DC job would be like him moving one position under that he's currently in. So they won't do that to him, and he won't take the job either, because he knows how this audience is. He has been in
But
this
his
role.
his movies are Oscar, not every movie, but his Oscars are more. His movies are more. more in like more of a possibility of the movies that he has get going for Oscars than say comic book
Yes.
movies. You know what I mean? Like he was a part of Doom.
Yes, so he can handle all those and leave the DC job to someone competent. And another thing that's going to be interesting is who is going to take the job, because everybody knows, everybody in the industry, the audiences, everyone knows that person is going to get a lot of backlash. The only reason Kevin Feige is not getting backlash is because he has proven himself and has given successes to the, to the studio, this to Disney, and as well as kept fans happy. Now, that same thing is not happening with Star Wars. Kathleen Kennedy, even though she delivered billion-dollar movies, only one movie flopped, in the Star Wars franchise, which is Solo. Um, every other movie, even The Last Jedi, even the last one, both made over $1 billion. So she at least delivered, financially. But a lot of fans hate her, even after delivering successes. A lot of fans hate her. So that the vitriol is gonna come for the new person, whoever is gonna take charge of DC films.
Yeah, well, I think she messed up like getting rid of, was it Colin Trevorrow?
Yeah.
He's supposed to do us, and then like Ryan Johnson, his plan was kind of put to the side as well, and they brought JJ back. I think she messed up there because Rogue One is a brilliant movie, even though there was some behind the scenes kind of drama there as well. That was brilliant. I thought Solo was actually pretty
Yeah,
good, but I
it
think
was.
the reception of The Last Jedi and then Solo coming out a few months later just maybe didn't help that at the time. But I also think she did well because she hired John Favreau to come in, Mandalorian. Did a
Yep.
fantastic job. And then like
The
Dave
streaming
Filoni's
Star
involved
Wars
now
is
as
doing
well.
very well.
Yeah, so like Obi-Wan's coming out pretty soon as
Mhm.
well, which I'm excited for. So I think she just kind of, maybe it wasn't solely her fault. It's just like things that didn't go that well. Some of the talent, and and then the live action movies didn't do that well. So like in terms of like what they could have been and should have been and stuff like that. But the streaming shows have been pretty good, and I think she saved herself in the last maybe since the Rise of Skywalker in that sense. But like the person who takes over DC, yeah, it's going to be very difficult. But I think if that person got whoever it is, got a Twitter account, an Instagram account, a TikTok, and actually communicated with fans,
Yeah.
and actually was enthusiastic, I think it would change. It would help a lot. I think you look at Jason Blum of Blumhouse Studios.
Mm-hmm.
He's very active online. He's always talking to his audience. He's always saying, "Oh, we have this movie coming here. Oh, this movie's out this week. It's really good. I really love it." That's, even though it may be BS, it's still good to see somebody
Yes.
communicating with the fans. Kevin Feige does it a lot as well. He doesn't have a
It
huge
just
social media
shows
presence.
that they care about the
I suppose.
audience. With
Yeah,
WB,
I
they
like that.
don't.
I
They
think,
show that they don't care.
yeah, I like that because there's like you're trying to sell the product or the movie or whatever it
Look
is.
at
And
Apple.
it's cool to kind of put it.
Steve Jobs
Yeah,
was the one who sold the product.
yeah. Get out there, talk to your audience, even though there's going to be some trolls out there or whatever. Ignore them. I tell you what you do is you look at the positive comments and you kind of enhance them and more stuff like that. Because I think it's important to engage with your fan base, especially nowadays with social media and
Absolutely.
technology. There's no excuse not to be online and stuff. I know it can be toxic and stuff like that, but it kind of comes with the position you're in as well. No matter what position, like if you're a football manager and your team's not doing that well, you're going to face backlash. And the only way you can change that is by changing the
Yep.
results and getting good results and winning games. And that's what DC have to do right now. They have to win some games. They have to engage with their fan base, and hopefully, well, I don't know who. I don't know who should get the job. I can
Me
probably
neither.
guarantee you, whoever does get the job will be somebody that nobody ever heard of before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Kevin Feige is a comic book fan. He's executive produced so many movies and stuff like that. But he has a good track record. He has a good win. But the thing is, like, I don't think movies like Black Widow are fantastic, but they got good reviews and they made a good bit of money. Probably because of the previous movies doing so well. The Iron Man's one,
Yeah.
Captain America, Winter
That's
Soldier.
that's what I was
Because
saying when I was saying that you need consistent brand. Why do Marvel Studios fans or audiences go to the movies? Do they go because, oh, look, Ant-Man movie. Ant-Man is such an iconic character. I'm so hyped for an Ant-Man movie. Do they go for that? No, they go because it's a Marvel Studios film and it's connected to the Avengers and all that. That's the reason they go. So you need to have that with your brand.
Yeah, like if DC had like 5 or 6 or maybe 10 wins, and then a Shazam movie came out and it was just like an okay movie, I think it would do a lot better than the previous Shazam movie did. You know, you kind of build up that fan base.
Yes.
Oh, I want to see the next DCU entry. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who gets the job, but I don't know who should get it. Like, I don't know. It's gonna be some. I don't know who should get it.
Yeah.
Like people online are very narrow minded. It should be Zack Snyder who gets
Yeah.
it. Like
No.
Zack Snyder is a talented
No.
director. I don't want him sitting in an
Some
office
people even said
with a
James
suit
Gunn,
on.
and even James Gunn said that he won't do it because he's a filmmaker. He won't do it. Like, why
Yeah,
would he
it's
do that?
ridiculous. Like these guys wouldn't have time to make movies if they were over the entire
Exactly.
thing, you know. So it's going to be somebody who has a. And it sounds like from Sazdov's thinking, he doesn't want somebody who is like a really good producer. He wants somebody who has a business mind
Yeah.
as well. So that means managing budgets. That
Yep.
means figuring out the best way to maximize the product in terms of this movie right here will be really good as a box office movie
Yep.
for 45 days, and then we can put it on HBO Max. Or this movie right here, actually, you know what? This movie right here, it's an unknown character. The actor is unknown as well. Oh, these directors haven't really directed anything on this scale. This will be a really good HBO Max movie for
Yep.
us. You know, so that's what that means. It's managing your brand as well. Or this movie here actually might be better as a HBO Max series. So that's what they're talking about in terms of somebody who has a business mind
Mhm.
in terms of not making stupid decisions like the marketing behind Birds of Prey, like the headless cameos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's
That
business
all
sense,
that
and
shit has to stop immediately. That is very damaging to the brand. Like, that needs to go. Because,
yeah,
not again to bring up Marvel, but if you see Thor, either I think it was Thor 2, Captain America didn't need to be in that. You know, it was just a random cameo. Loki is just walking by, and he just shifts into Captain America for just 2 seconds. For that 2 seconds alone, they brought Chris Evans in. So, and DC couldn't do that for Jared Leto when he's available, and they are making a Birds of Prey movie focusing on the breakup of Joker and Harley Quinn. That is your plot,
yeah,
and you are not having Jared Leto in it. It's disastrous. That should not happen
yeah,
again. And you do not bench Superman. You just do not bench Superman. That is your face of the DCEU. You have your Batman movie, sure, but that's not DCEU. But you need to have your face of the DCU back. And I'm glad that they acknowledged that. It feels like this article was very specific in fixing the problems because they addressed the having the different vertical thing. They needed to have DC as a separate studio. They addressed Superman. They didn't mention him, but they addressed Superman because they know that fans are dying to see another Superman movie. So there is that as well. So I'm glad that they said these two things as well as the head of the entire DC thing. So that will really help a lot. So here's hoping that the DC films coming in the future are more cohesive, more successful, better connected, and good. But from the current
exciting as
slate,
well.
exciting as well, yes. But from the current slate, I really, 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 really want that Flash movie to come out. I don't want them to scrap it. Because that's one movie that has Ben Affleck's Batman. You have other League members. You have Flash, who was so awesome in Zack Snyder's Justice League. You have Keaton Batman. I know a lot of people love him, so that will also be good. You have Supergirl. It's such a big scale movie, and it's very interesting to me. So I just hope that they, release that movie. But from now till then, there could be a lot of changes to that movie. So,
That's the problem, isn't it? That's the
or
problem.
it could be better.
Could improve it.
Yeah. So we'll
Yeah,
just have to wait
let's
and see.
see. Fingers crossed.